2018, new year, new goals. I am thrilled to sit down with Archana Ravichandran, who is an executive here in Silicon Valley and done a variety of things. She spent several years at Google. She currently is a senior director at Medallia, and she started a podcast called Unstoppable Women, which I am so excited to learn a little bit more about. So welcome.
Awesome. Thanks, Brandon.
So tell us a little bit about why you started the podcast.
It took me 2 years to launch this podcast, and it was 2015, and I was looking for a career change. And in that process, had the fortune of speaking to a lot of incredible men and women about their careers, their career paths, the choices that they made, how they thought about those decisions. It was probably the best part of the job search, was having these conversations and really learning from other people. And so it was just thinking, hey, I'm really fortunate to have this network to be able to have these types of conversations. I think at the same time, I was looking to take more risk in my career. I had done all the things that one was supposed to do for their career, and it was great, and I had a ton of great experiences, but was wanting to take a little bit more risk in that process. And it all really came together for me at Dreamforce in 2015. I had started a new job and was at this conference and was sitting at a panel. It was a women in leadership panel, and there were 4 just incredible women on the panel and a great moderator. And while the questions were interesting and the responses were interesting, I wanted so much more. I felt like I only got the 5-minute highlights from these women, and I got the soundbite, and I wanted the full 60 minutes on how did they get there and how did they really accomplish that. And I think the combination of the 3 in that year really helped make that click.
I think it's fantastic that you're doing. I think a lot of people probably struggle with this question on how the heck did these people make it to where they're at today?
Yeah.
So why women? Lots of podcasts, lots of topics. Can you maybe share a little bit about why this topic is so important to you?
So I went to an all-women's college. I went to Wellesley, and so kind of women in the workforce is just something that's always been in the back of my head, but I never quite knew how to contribute or how to make it better. Over the last couple of years, I've been reading a lot more statistics around women in leadership, and McKinsey came out with something last year that suggested that women enter the workforce about 50-50, but really it's at that VP level that it starts to drop. I think it starts to drop down to 30%. And so that's a pretty meaningful gap between entry level and VP, and that's the part that spoke to me the most. And have spent time just thinking about how could I contribute, and this is the first of what I hope to be many different endeavors around this focus area for me.
How about a couple, 3 pieces of advice from your learnings on the podcast?
So the first is you don't get what you don't ask for. So a lot of these women have gone out, they've asked for what they've wanted. And my favorite example is from my second podcast. Kelly McElhaney talks about a woman at Bank of America who was a single mom and requested that whenever she traveled for work, that both her nanny and her daughter could come with her.
Wow.
And so for me, that was great. I love those examples of what do people ask for, and what can you get to make it easier?
What happened?
So she got it, and Bank of America didn't want to lose her. She was a valued executive, and it was a no-brainer.
There you have it.
The second one is all of the career journeys were so different, and all of the starting points were so different, and the paths were different. So I have some women who were at the same company for 15 years and really worked their way up.
Yeah.
And others who every 2 to 3 years were at a different company, and big company, small company, different functions. And I think that can be very refreshing. Sometimes there can be a pressure felt around really having this figured out, and it's fun for me to see that there are just so many different paths out there, and there's no one clear path on that. And then the third one is that most of these women had some kind of mentor or sponsor that was helping them. And so whether it was a mentor at the company that they could bounce ideas off of or really talk through challenging problems with, or a sponsor that was looking out for them in terms of different career opportunities within the company and helping them decipher that. That was a common theme throughout the interviews, and I think is an important one for women to remember.
On the mentor and sponsor point, what's your advice on mentorship? I've seen mentor matching tools and other things. Or does it come organically for you? Or advice on, all right, I don't have a mentor, I need one. Should I go ask, or should I just get to know people?
So I've had both, actually. One of my guests reached out to a person that she really respected within eBay and asked him if he would have coffee and kind of be a mentor. And that can be awkward at first, but she really made it work. She followed up, she drove the conversation, she always had an agenda. And I think you can start as awkward, but over time I think you can really build that up into a strong relationship. I think others can happen more organically, whether it's former managers or former peers that you're comfortable going with. And so I know that there are these mentor matching programs, but there has to be some kind of connection, I think, in order for those to work. I think it kind of goes back to don't be scared to ask. Like if there's someone that you feel a connection with that you think can really help you, like I would just go ahead and ask them for a coffee and start small.
Love it. Well, it's been awesome having you here. I often say don't be a spectator. If you see a problem, jump into the game. And I think you're a shining example of that. So congrats on the podcast.
Thank you.
And thank you for the amazing advice. And as we embark on 2018 here, I know you've got some great content on the podcast. You maybe want to share a little bit about some of the topics that are out there.
Yeah, for
folks
sure.
Can tune into.
So we've got a great topic on executive presence. My favorite is one coming up on self-advocacy. And then a last one around career journaling and career pathing. You know, what do you do if you feel stuck in your career? How do you get to that next level? So those are just a few to listen to.
Awesome. So be sure to tune into Unstoppable Women. You can pick it up on iTunes or really anywhere you can find a podcast. There's some exciting topics coming up, so definitely check it out. And again, Archana, thank you so much for joining us.
Cool. Thanks, Brandon. Really excited to be here.